To install the connector on your Allegro 1B with risers or tower, you'll need 2 Allen wrenches, which are included with your kit, a screwdriver of any kind, and either a combination wrench or a long 7/16 socket with ratchet, and something sharp to open the packaging. Hi, my name is Kayleen and I'm here in the BB Garage to show you how to install a connector on your Allegro 1B. And that is either with risers like this machine or with a tower. There's only a small difference, so both of those are going to be in the same video. Okay? So the first thing we want to do is to remove the ropes from the reformer. Super easy. Once you take these ropes off, you can put them off to the side. We don't need them to use the connector. You might want to save them in case you ever revert back, but we won't need them for now. Okay, before we flip the machine on its side, we need to take the shoulder rests off. And the reason for that is it exposes a few bolt heads underneath so that we can hold them secure when we put the brackets on under the carriage. You have a couple of options to work underneath the carriage. The first one is not to flip it over. If you have legs, you might be able to fit your head under there and just lay on your back. But I'm going to flip the carriage on its, or the whole reformer on its side so that you can see what I'm doing much easier. If you choose to do this with your reformer, I like to have a couple boxes under the sides to eliminate the lean from the foot bar. And if you do have a tower, make sure that there's room for the tower to lay down on the floor as well. Should be fine. Okay. In your box, you're looking for 2 brackets that look like this, and they each have 1 pulley on them. These are what we're going to install underneath here. Now, to do that, we need 2 tools. I'm going to need an Allen wrench and either a socket or a combination wrench. Okay? I'm going to remove the nuts on these 2 bolts here, okay? We're going to leave the one that's in the front alone. We don't need to mess with that. So I'm going to take these 2 off. Now to do that, I have to secure the bolt head from the other side with my Allen wrench, okay? So I've removed the nut and the washer. Now I'm going to put the bracket right over those 2 protruding studs, okay? Take your washer and then the nut, and you finger start both of those nuts, okay? And then I'll take my socket or my wrench and tighten these down. I want this to be pretty snug. Make sure that the nylon O-ring here, part of this nylock, is engaging the threads. Okay, so this one's all ready. let's do the same thing with the other bracket. Oops. Okay, our brackets are installed. We can return the carriage upright and move on. Oh my God, monies. Plug your ears. Okay. Now we're ready to change out the shoulder rests. So our shoulder rests that we had can go right back on, but we actually need to change out the shoulder posts. So in your package, you will have 2 new shoulder posts with flanges at the top. And we're just going to go lefty-loosey to remove the old ones. And then righty-tighty to put the new ones back on. Or sorry, the new ones on. Okay. We're going to move up toward the head end of the reformer so that we can install the lower pulleys, and then we'll move on to the risers in the tower, okay? So, in your packaging, you need hardware and another set of pulleys, okay? We are also going to need some tools to do this. So I need my same socket or a combination wrench and an Allen wrench. I think that one's a little small. Okay. Let's open up this package. We should have 2 pulleys with a couple little brackets attached here. Okay. And these are going to install just like this. Okay. So this is where we need our hardware from the bag. I'm going to take out 2 long bolts, ooh, long ones. Whoops. And then there should be 2 nuts and 4 washers. Okay. So here I'm going to put on 1 washer. Then I'll take my pulley and hold it up against the frame, lining up these holes. Now the long bolt here is going to go through these holes, and it should come out the back end of the frame. And there's a hole in the back end of the frame, so it might take a little bit of finagling. There we go. Then we'll take another washer and a nylock nut and put it on the back. Use your Allen wrench and socket or wrench to tighten these down. we go, that's snug. And we'll do the same thing on the other side here. Pretty easy, right? So our lower pulleys are now installed. So let's add the new double pulleys up here. In my box, we're going to pull out the two big assemblies that look like this, and they should have the bolts already installed through here. We're going to need both of those. Now we're going to take off these existing pulleys, and to do that I'm going to use my combination wrench for the nut and the screwdriver for the eye bolt to hold the eye bolt still. And then I'll take these off. Once you disassemble these, you can put them off to the side because you won't need them. I need an Allen wrench to get into here to take this bolt out so that this will slide on the riser, and then the bolt will go through the hole where the pulley, the single pulley, was attached. Okay. That one's too big. You'll see that there is a washer on this bolt, okay? We're going to leave it there for when we reinstall this. Now take your pulley block, make sure the pulleys are facing the carriage, and we'll just slide it right over the riser just like that. Our bolt with washer is going to go through the hole in the center and through the hole in the pulley, and then it will screw into the back side of the block. I'm going to make sure this is pretty snug. There we go. Let's do the same thing for the other side. Okay, now we are ready to put the ropes on. If you have a tower, I'm going to show you now how to install the lower pulleys and the new set of pulleys up here on the tower side, okay? So let's start with your lower pulleys that mount on the lower end of this frame here. You're going to need to remove these two black bolts, okay? And those attached to the standoffs in the back for bottom-loaded push-through bar exercises. save this standoff with eye bolt, but you can get rid of this black bolt. Now you're going to find the pulleys with this little black bracket on here. And in addition to that, you need a washer and this long silver bolt. So I'm going to slide this washer onto the silver bolt, just like that. It's got to go through the pulley too. We have to attach the pulley and the bracket to the frame. There we go. So it's going to go through just like that. Now, there's some threads sticking out in the back, and that's where I use this standoff and replace it. Okay, so I can finger tighten it to start. And then I'll need an Allen wrench, and I can use a screwdriver on the back side to tighten this down. There we go. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Long silver bolt, washer, goes through the bracket, and then the bolt goes through the frame. You can even reach under this head end piece and feel the bolt to try and help guide it through the hole in the back. Now I take my standoff, I go for the finger tight, and then screwdriver and Allen wrench to tighten it down. There we go. So this is it's pretty tight, but not so much that you saw me working really hard to keep it tight. Okay, so we're all set down here. Let's move on up here. I'm going to loosen this knob and remove the pulley and this standoff. Oops. And you'll see that there's a black washer here. We don't need these parts anymore, so I'm going to put them off to the side. What we do need to save on the other side is the whole knob assembly, which includes the knob, a spacer, and a washer. Okay, so we're going to use that same assembly on the outside here. Now we'll take our double pulley assembly here, and you need a little square plastic washer just like this one. Okay, this square plastic washer fits on this end, and it's going to go between this aluminum block and the aluminum tower. Okay, then I reinsert my knob from the outside of the tower and screw into my block. There we go. Okay. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Washer, pulley standoff goes off to the side. I still have my knob, spacer, and washer here. Okay, plastic washer is between our aluminum bracket and the aluminum frame. And then we'll tighten the knob into the block. Now, you can put your pulley blocks at any point in this slot, right? We've got a distance here that you can move these up or down. Just make sure they're even on both sides. Okay. All right, we've got our pulleys mounted on the head end here and here. Now we're ready to put the ropes on. To thread the ropes onto your Allegro, we need to get the loops out and ready. So we've got two sets of loops here. The ones that have the gray stripe on them, we can put on the carriage for later. The ones that have the black stripe and the pulleys on them, we will need. So I'm going to put them right here for now. Now our rope here, it's actually just one rope. This is kind of the beauty of the Konnector here. So I'm going to put most of it on the floor in the middle here and take one end and thread it through both of the pulleys underneath the carriage. Okay. So now I've got two ropes, or two rope ends. Okay. I'm going to come towards the riser on the same side that the rope is coming out of and go through the bottom pulley and then come up directly to the middle pulley on the top of the riser here. Okay. This rope is then going to come back towards the shoulder rest, and this is where we get our black loops involved. Okay, so now I'm looping the loop around the shoulder post, and the rope is going to go through this pulley here. Okay, oh, my other end of the rope's a little caught up here. Okay, and then I'm going to take this end through the outer pulley on the riser. Okay. And then it's going to come back towards the carriage. Now here is where we're going to attach the gray loop. Okay, so I'm going to take the loop of the rope, put it through the metal D-ring, and then take your gray loop and put it through the rope. Okay, and we should be able to hold it nice and tight here. All right, one side's done. Moving on to the other side, the rope comes from the carriage to the bottom pulley, directly up to the inside pulley on the riser. Okay. Back to the carriage. Now this is where we get our loop with the pulley on. Oops. And thread your rope through the pulley on the loop. Okay. Now this rope goes to the outside riser on the outside pulley on the riser. Can you tell? There's a lot going on with these ropes. And then we take your gray loop. Put the rope loop through the metal D-ring. The loop goes through the rope. And then we pull it tight at the bottom. Okay. So now we've got 4 loops attached to our rope. Okay. So from here, our Konnector is ready to use. Before we sign off, I just want to give you a couple of tips about using the Konnector. Okay. First, whenever you're not using a loop, it needs to be on the shoulder post. This is why those flanges are there. If it's not on the shoulder post, they could be under load, okay, and come off. Okay, that's why the flanges are there. And if you just have them on the floor, then you don't get the right rope length or the right resistance. Okay, so you can see the loop starts to slide along the floor. Okay, in general, the gray loops are used for hands because they're about half of the weight of the black loops. So if we wanted to use the black loops, okay, we need to make sure that the gray loops are hooked onto the shoulder posts. Now, the black loops are about the same weight as a regular reformer. So if you wanted to do supine arms with your normal springs, you would use the black loops, okay? It is possible to lock the ropes into place, so that if you don't want the give and take between the right and the left side, you can make it feel like a regular reformer. So in that case, you're going to reach down underneath the carriage to pull the rope out from where it is coming out of the pulleys under there. So you'll have to do this on both sides of the reformer. And then thread it through the cam cleat here. So now when you pull on it, it's actually going to move the carriage. It's not going to travel through the rope to the other side, okay? So in this case, you can use either one of those loops, okay? Last thing, these loops are really cool. We've talked about this stripe. This stripe actually has a function. This is called a tri-loop, and this gray stripe peels off to make basically a Y loop, okay? This is really nice to put around the heel or the wrist of someone for extra support. Now, when you're not using this tri-loop, you can just fold it right back on the end of the loop, and it's just a regular loop. The black ones have it as well, so it's a little bit disguised because it's black on black. But these are really functional loops, okay? All right, I think you're ready to go. If you need more videos like this one, you can go to pilates.com/bbgarage. I'll see you over there.